Die, 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 die. Yai, da, die, die, da, die. Yai, die, 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 die. Yai, da, die, da, da, die, die, die. Yai, da, die, 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 die. Yai, da, die, 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 da, da, die. Ya, da, die, da, die, 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 die. Yai, join me with Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharei, Malachei Shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruchuni LeShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shuvchem LeShalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malchei HaMlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
This past Wednesday, we watched what is being called by many an act of sedition or insurrection. It left 5 people dead, including a U.S. Capitol officer named Brian Sicknick. As some of you know, My family has been in this country since before its founding, was involved with its formation. My family have been fighting in wars and offering of themselves the last full measure of devotion to this country since the 1700s, witnessing the Revolutionary War, the War of 1812, the Civil War, amongst many others. I can hardly imagine what they would have thought seeing the sights that we saw this past week. To be perfectly honest, I have no idea what they would have thought by seeing one of their descendants on a bima wearing a kippah speaking about this either, but that's a sermon for another day. It pained me greatly to watch the events of Wednesday unfold, to see politicians of both parties run for their lives in wearing gas masks, to see the House chambers barricaded with guns drawn, to see a lawless mob walking the halls of our hallowed building carrying Confederate flags and wearing shirts that claimed that not enough lives were taken by the Nazis during the Holocaust. As an American, I was crying. As an American, I was angry. But as a Jew, I was afraid. The not-so-distant reminder of Charlottesville came into thoughts. Hearing the chants of "Jews will not replace us" rang loud in my ears. I have heard many people say that this is not America. What happened, that event, is not America. I couldn't disagree more. This is not what America is supposed to be, but it is what America is. We are in America where mobs of lawlessness are treated differently depending on the color of your skin. We are in America which is afraid of diversity and always blames the other as our scapegoat. We are in America which constantly feels like we are trying to pull ourselves apart. And we can treat our neighbor, our sibling, as poorly as we treat our enemies. We are in America which always has multiple disenfranchised groups at once who feel as though there is no hope of freedom and of prosperity and feel the need to revolt. We are in America which is teeming with bigotry. But this doesn't have to be us. America was founded on an ideal. That ideal, over the course of time, has come up empty for many. But what makes America beautiful is that an ideal, an aspiration, doesn't end with the present. It continues on to the future. And we have the ability to make it there. We have had these moments of pain and horror before in our country's past, where the veil of society has been removed, and we get to see who we truly are. And it is through that recognition that we come out stronger as a nation and inch ever closer to the ideals upon which this nation was forged. As American Jews, we have an obligation to help bend the arc of justice towards hope and prosperity and freedom for all. The words inscribed on our Liberty Bell and ring true to all Americans, that we should proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof, is a Jewish commandment taken from Leviticus. The words of Emma Lazarus's poem that read, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free. The wretched refuse of your teeming shore, send these, the homeless, the tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door." Those words feel to me as though they could be found within our Torah's holiness codes that remind us that we need to care for the orphan, the widow, and the stranger. Our Torah and our Haggadah remind us that our father was a wandering Aramean, a refugee. Our Jewish narrative over the arc of millennia remind us that the core of who we are, our sacred purpose, is to be a light to the nations. We are to see the world not as it is, but as it could be. We are to hold our ideals bound to our hearts and make their coming to fruition the work of our hands. As Jews, we are to see the events of this past week as a reminder that our work is not yet done. Yes, it was sad. Yes, it was horrifying. And yes, it's time to get to work again. Tzedek, tzedek tirdof, justice shall you pursue in order to merit living in this land. As we enter into this Shabbat together, I want to invite us all to participate in a silent prayer, asking for peace in this land and security within our borders.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat
Welcome to
Shalom.
Anshe Emeth. My name is David Levine, and my pronouns are he and him. And it's been a long, difficult week, and I'm so happy to be here with you to find solace in tonight's worship and to find some light at the end of the tunnel. Tonight we're joined by Rabbi Jeffrey Salkin, who will speak to us later on this Scholar in Residence weekend. I'm waiting so patiently to hear his words. But before we start, I invite Frankie and Mark Bush to light the Shabbat candles for us this evening. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own days, be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotov v'tzivanu lahadlikner shel Shabbat.
Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
We continue with Lachado D on page 20.
בנו אל המיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד שמו תפארת ולתחילה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נשוכה סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה מקדש מלך עיר מלוכה פנית מתוך אף אחריו לך שבט במקבך והוא יחמול עלייכם לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה התנערי מעפר קומי לבשי בגדי תפארתך מיד יד בן ישי בן הלך מקורבה אל נפשי גאלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה התעוררי התעוררי כי באורך קומי אורי 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 שיר דברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נעלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לא תבושי ולא תקמי מה תשתכחי ומה תמי בך יחסו עניי עמי ונבנתה עיר אל תילה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה והיו למשי ששוסייך ורחקו כל מבייך יסיס עלייך אלוהיך כמשוש חתן על כלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה ימים ושמאל תפרוצי ואת אדוני תריצי על יד איש בן פרצי ונשמחה ונגילה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה.
We rise in either body or spirit.
ושלום עטרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובסולה תוך אמוני עם סגולה
Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat nekabela. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
We continue with the singing of Chatzi Kaddish on page 26.
Yitgadal ve'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Ve'alma divrach hirutei ve'amlich malchutei.
B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayel kol Beit Yisrael.
Ba'agala, ba'agala, uvizman kariv imru. Amen. Yehesh
Shme'Rabba mevorach, le'olam u'l'almei almaya,
Yitbarach, Yitbarach, ve'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam ve'yitnaseh, ve'yitadar, ve'yit'aleh, ve'yithalal, shemei dekudesha brichu, le'ela min kol birchata ve'shirata. Tush bechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'imru. Amen.
We rise now in either body or spirit for the Baruch Hu.
Adonai hamvorach leolam vaed. Baruch Adonai hamvorach leolam vaed. Yai dai da dai, yai dai da dai, yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai da dai, yai dai da dai, yai dai 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 dai.
If you have Mishkan Tefillah, we're on page 31. This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim.
Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot hukim u'mishpatim otanu limadeta. Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael ahavta, Ahavat olam otanu limadeta. Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot hukim u'mishpatim otanu limadeta. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. אהבת עולם אותנו לימדת, כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגה יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. אהבת עולם אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. 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 ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד.
If you are standing, please be seated.
ואהבת את
אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברתם בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם מכל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
אדוני אלוהיכם, אמן.
In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Yai dai 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 dai. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. Mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh. Mi kamocha nelim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh. Tehilot, Fele, Tehilot, Fele, Adonai yimloch leolam vaed. Malchutecha ra'u vanecha, bokei yam lifnei Moshe u'Miriam. Ze'elianu ve'amru, Ze'elianu ve'amru, Adonai yimloch leolam vaed. Mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh, mi kamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar ba'kodesh. Tehilot, Fele, Tehilot, Fele Adonai yimloch leolam vaed.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai haporesh sukat shalom aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael v'al Yerushalayim.
Ashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom, leshalom. V'ha'amidenu shomreinu lechayim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Shalom, Shalom. V'ha'amidenu shomreinu lechayim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen. Amen. Ananana svatai tiftach. Ananana ufi agid. Ufi agid tehilatecha.
Ananana Adonai. Ananana svatai tiftach. Ananana ufi agid. Ufi agid tehilatecha. Ananana Adonai. Ananana svatai tiftach. Ananana ufi agid. Ufi agid tehilatecha. Ananana Adonai. Ananana svatai tiftach. Ananana ufi agid. Ufi agid tehilatecha. Ananana Adonai. Ananana svatai tiftach. Ananana ufi agid. Ufi agid tehilatecha. Adonai. Ananana svatai tiftach. Ananana ufi agid. Ufi agid tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora, Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei hakol, Vezocher chasdei avot v'imaot, Umevi gula lifnei vneihem, Leman shemo b'ahava, Melech ozer u'moshia u'magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Bezrat Sarah. Ata gibor le'olam Adonai, mechaye hakol ata rav lehoshia, mashiv haruach u'morid hagashem, mechakel chaim bechesed, mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, somech noflim
verofei cholim,
umatir asurim, Mekayem emunato lishenei afar micha mocha bal gevurot umido melach melech memit umechaye umatzmiach Yeshua
ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל.
Baruch atah Adonai mechaye hakol. Ta kadosh v'shimcha kadosh u'kadoshim b'chol yom yalu chasela.
ברוך אתה
Adonai
האל הקדוש.
We continue now with Tfilat Halev, the personal and private prayer of the heart, either using the words in your Siddur if you have one in front of you, or using the words that are inscribed upon your soul. after which you may be seated if you are standing. Shabbat Shalom once again. Rabbi Nathaniel Keller served as the rabbi of Anshe Emeth Memorial Temple for 33 years. He was active in community affairs as well as being dedicated to Anshe Emeth. He was the president of the local Zionist chapter and worked with Jewish students at Rutgers University long before Hillel was founded on the campus. Rabbi Keller dedicated his entire life to bringing Torah to his congregants through his teaching, preaching, and counsel. The Rabbi Nathaniel Keller Memorial Lecture Fund was established by the Board of Trustees upon his death. And we keep his memory alive by inviting in a rabbi to speak every year. And in doing so, we teach in memory of his name. It is my honor tonight to bring to our congregation Rabbi Jeff Salkin. Rabbi Salkin has a national and international reputation as one of America's most quoted rabbis and one of our great thought leaders. His words have been cited in the New York Times, the New Republic, and USA Today. He has appeared on many television and radio programs and has spoken in more than 100 communities, including Israel, Great Britain, Cuba, and Poland. I don't know of a single colleague of mine who doesn't describe him as intellectually fearless and an activist for Jewish ideas. He is a public intellectual of the pulpit, as some people have quoted saying. Rabbi Salkin was also one of the first rabbis to earn a Doctor of Ministry degree from Princeton Theological Seminary, not too far from here. And he has lectured and taught at major universities and seminaries. On a personal note, when I first came to town 9 years ago, Rabbi Salkin was in New Jersey, and he just started at the ADL, and we shared a very special car drive to a local rabbis meeting. And I found him at that moment. I don't think I ever told him this, but I was a little starstruck because I had been reading his books for years and found them remarkable. And there I was driving him to a meeting, and it was just a precious conversation where I realized that he is who he is in his books, and he is a rabbi's rabbi. And I am thrilled that we're able to have him join us. He is right now the rabbi of Temple Israel in West Palm Beach, and while I wish we could have him here in person, I'm grateful for our blessing of technology, which enables him to join us today. I want us all to welcome Rabbi Jeff Salkin to our Bima.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and thank you, Rabbi Baisley. It really is a privilege for me to be here. I certainly wish that I could be with you in person. There have been so many times that I have visited your congregation. I have such profound respect for Rabbi Baisley, and my relationship with the rabbis of this congregation goes back decades. Rabbi Bennett Miller and I are very close friends, partners, and colleagues. And to be able to be here and to thus honor the memory of Rabbi Keller is a true blessing. Years ago, when I was still in rabbinical school, I spent a year as the intern at Hillel at Rutgers. And so New Brunswick is in my blood. And just to show you how this all comes around full circle, our composer in residence, virtually by Zoom, is Perry Smilo, who is a daughter of your congregation and who has asked me to send her regards to all of you. My friends, when we first announced my topic for this evening, the title was Looking for God in All the Right Places, which was the title of the talk that I gave on that subject this past summer to the Chautauqua Institution in upstate New York, again, virtually. It had been my intention to speak about American spirituality, religiosity, and how Judaism fits into that conversation. And yet, in the wake of the events this past week, I feel that in one sense, to speak about spirituality, to delve into the mystical, or perhaps that inwardness that we often associate with that, is a luxury that we can ill afford. One of my congregants yesterday asked me, where is God in all of this? So I'd like to help you figure that out. I'd like you to walk with me on a trip, a journey. Fly with me, actually, if such a thing was possible. I want to take you to three places. Three places wherein the Jewish spirit dwells. Three ideas and texts that can help us as American Jews understand the meaning of this moment. First stop, Egypt. In this week's Torah portion, Moses tending the flock of his father-in-law, Jethro, sees a vision that might be considered one of the quintessential Jewish spiritual visions of all time, a bush that is burning and is not consumed, which the ancient Jewish philosopher Philo said is a metaphor and a symbol for the Jewish people. And the text tells us that Moses said, I must turn aside to look at this marvelous sight. I want you just to hold that phrase, to turn aside. I want you to come back with me to what happened to Moses before he fled to Midian, when he was again in Egypt, when he saw two slaves, and he saw one slave being beaten by an Egyptian taskmaster, and the text tells us that Moses looked this way and that, and turning this way and that, he slayed the taskmaster, turning. A midrash that is stunning says to us the following: why was it possible for Moses to turn and to see that burning bush? It was only because he had turned this way and that to see if there was anyone around. Not to see if anyone would see him killing the taskmaster. It wasn't out of cowardice. It wasn't Moses figuring out, is there anyone here who could possibly be a witness? No. Oh, our teachers of blessed memory say that Moses turned this way and that to see if there was anyone else who could possibly intervene in this moment. But seeing no one, Moses knew that this moment had his name on it, and that was Moses' moment of becoming. So what I want you to understand is this. As we spend that moment together in Egypt in the wilderness, that we encounter the divine spirit in those moments of overwhelming conscience, when we realize that there is no one around who can do this other than us. That is what we as American Jews have to understand. From whom other than us can come the warning, the, out of season shofar blast about what we saw the other day? It is built into our DNA. Our survivors now are dying. They age. Their memories do not die. Turn to them and ask them what it was that they saw in Washington that day. The memories that come up, the triggering, as it were. We do not turn aside. We do not turn away. Moses did not turn away. Moses looked in every direction to see, was there anyone else who could do this? And seeing no one else, he did it. And that is why God blessed him with the ability to turn aside and to see the burning bush. We're done with Egypt. Let's get on a plane and go to Rome. Several summers ago, I was in Rome, and I had that wonderful experience of visiting the ruins of the Colosseum. The tour guide actually said to us that it was Jewish slaves who actually built the Colosseum. And if you successfully endured the movie Gladiator, which I've seen many times, then you know what happened in the Colosseum. There were chariot races, there were gladiator battles, animals were killed, and so were people. And so the sages asked the following question. They lived in the time of the Roman Empire, when the Colosseum was totally operational. They pondered this question. If you visit Rome, is it permissible to visit the Colosseum? Most of the sages said no, don't go. Don't see bloodshed. It's trafe. If you're not allowed to consume blood with your mouth, you can't consume it with your eyes. Don't witness violence. Don't go. Turn aside. Turn away. But other rabbis thought differently. They said, not only can Jews go to the Colosseum, they must. Because if you go to the Colosseum and you see a gladiator who has been gravely wounded, with his opponent standing over him, ready to finish him off, what happens? Everyone in the crowd is yelling. Some are yelling, spare him, and others are yelling, kill him. And who is in the crowd? The emperor. That was how the emperor spent his leisure time, a rather sadistic hobby, if you ask me. The emperor had the absolute power over life and death. If he wanted the gladiator to live, thumb up. If he wanted the gladiator to die, thumb down. And so why did some of the ancient sages say that you had to be in the Colosseum? Because they said, you have a job to do. You have to scream out, spare him. Let him live. And who knows? Because of your single solitary scream, the emperor might change his mind. The emperor might, based on your scream, might decide to spare that human life. The emperor could turn his thumb from down to up, even if you were the only one screaming for that gladiator's life, even if you were a radical minority, you had to be there. To find God in this moment is to know that we are a minority. When we saw those miscreants and deplorables with their anti-Semitic shirts, slogans of hatred, we must understand that we can never adjust ourselves to that. Child psychologists spend a lot of time and energy, and parents spend a lot of money getting children to be well adjusted. I'm going to tell you something. It is a mitzvah to be maladjusted. We enter the Colosseum of America and we scream for life. We scream for justice. We scream for rationality. And now I invite you to join me for the third part of our trip. We have been to Egypt. We have been to Rome. I want you to come with me to Citi Field in Queens. Come with me to the Mets game if you want. The last time I went to Citi Field, like everyone else, I stood up and I made a valiant attempt to sing our national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Well, I believe that your cantor would have done a better job singing that song, because you see, that song has the greatest range of any song in America, an octave and a half. I know that you noticed that. And the reason why that song is so hard to sing, the reason why you have to reach, is because America itself is a reach. And something else as well. Do you know that after I sang that song at Citi Field, after the applause, I thought about the words I had just sung. And do you know what I noticed? The Star-Spangled Banner is a series of questions. Oh, say, can you see? Does that star-spangled banner yet wave? The song is a series of questions. There's barely a statement in that song. It's a question mark. Because America, friends, is a series of questions that we ask ourselves. It's not about politics. It's not even about civics. It's about, where is God in this conversation? To be descendants of the prophets, as we often flatter ourselves into thinking we are, is to stand in the footsteps and walk in the path of Amos and of Jeremiah and Isaiah, fearless that they were, questioning the mores of their society. The very role of religion is to ask questions. And the purpose of religion, the purpose of Judaism, is for God to put those questions before us. And yes, as I said earlier, to be maladjusted and to aspire to make that upward journey of an octave and a half. But as my friends and I were driving away from Citi Field, I said, you know, I wish that we would sing a different song. An easier song to sing, but a song with such noble lyrics. I wish we could have sung America the Beautiful. And everyone knows the first verse of America the Beautiful. But the poetry of that song shakes me. The verses we don't sing. It's on page 377 if you've got Mishkan Tefillah. America, America, God mend thine every flaw, confirm thy soul in self-control, thy liberty in law. We confirm the soul of America, God is saying to us, in self-control, balancing our liberties with law. America, America, may God thy gold refine, till all success be nobleness, and every gain divine. We are not here merely to hoard, but to sanctify. And then I sang to myself just the other night this verse. Oh, beautiful for patriot dream that sees beyond the years, thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. Thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. The last time I wept as much as I did over what had happened in a city was on 9/11, and I wept the other day. The American dream will be undimmed by our tears, and God is present in those moments when we, as Jews and as Americans and as human beings, make that journey of an octave and a half, that moral journey, that spiritual journey. that ascent into the heavens. From Egypt, where Moses understood that he had a moral role to fulfill, to Rome, where the Jew understands that he or she has a moral role to fulfill, to America, where we now confront the passionate truth that we have a moral role to fulfill. I wish I could be with you. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, and thank you so much. Shabbat Shalom once again, and a big thank you to Rabbi Jeff Salkin. It's always an honor and a pleasure to learn from you. Just in terms of announcements, you can study with Rabbi Salkin in a more intimate way this Sunday as he joins us as part of our Keepers of Jewish Excellence program. That's Sunday at 10:30. And his topic is, why is it always about the Jews, as we examine anti-Semitism over the years. It's a wonderful presentation. I can't wait to study with him Sunday morning, and I hope you all choose to join with us for that. Just a couple of other brief announcements. As some of you know, since March, Jay Goldberg and a bunch of other volunteers and Aline Goldberg have been working to help make sandwich bags for Elijah's Promise. Since the pandemic began, it's been increasingly harder for Elijah's Promise to get lunch bags that they can give out. Because of the pandemic, they need to be prepared in a special kitchen, which we have, and by I'm going to botch the title, I'm sorry, Jay, but a safe, clean, a certified, somebody who can make sure that the sandwiches are made in a hygienic way, which Jay is certified to do. He took on this wonderful challenge. He and his team have been making sandwiches since April. Since March or April, they have made 16,500 bagged lunches. 16,500 bagged lunches. The cost is a little bit more, somewhere between $500 and $600 per week. It's $125 a day to make 100 sandwiches, and we have exhausted all of the reserves and donations that we've received to make these lunches. These lunches are incredibly pivotal for the people of New Brunswick who rely on this. As the motto of Elijah's Promise goes, food changes lives, because it's really hard to get a job and to do all the things you need to do if all you can think about is the hunger in your belly. So please join with me, join with us as we collect more resources to be able to feed the people of New Brunswick. The need has never been greater since the pandemic really started to sink in here. So please, if you can, give what you can, and let's feed the people of New Brunswick. And a big thank you to Jay and Helene and his team for being able to do this. Unbelievable, 16,500 sandwiches since the pandemic began. I hope the need is over soon, but the need is still great right now. Also, I have a big mazel tov for Dave Schlossberg. I hear, Dave, that you have won 2 international music awards from the Global Music Award Organization for the orchestral work A Place Beyond Words, a suite on Jewish themes, and 3 movements for symphony orchestra, as well as the opening song of your musical Facing the Music. I believe the song is entitled Life Behind the Wheel. Both silver awards, right? Yep. So a big mazel tov. Let me put you up on the screen. A big mazel tov to our own Dave Schlossberg for being able to winning those awards. I know years ago we gave out that CD of you playing A Place Beyond Words. To this day, I listen to that CD every day when I drive to Temple for Friday night services, because it just puts me in the right place for services. So mazel tov to Dave Schlossberg on those 2 awards. You can join us later as soon as services end on our virtual oneg. It's in the links that we send out every Friday night for services. We know there are a lot of people that are now joining our services from all over the country. If you would like to get our email links for services so you can join us for the oneg, or that you can get the links to the songs or the page numbers or the PDF of our service, go to aemtnews.com. That's aemtnews.com to give us your email address so you can get all the links to our events. We're having people join our congregation from states away, and if you would like to join our congregation as a Zoom member, we'd love to have you with us. Also coming up this Wednesday is Rabbi Miller's Lunch and Learn. You should have information for that and some other lectures coming up on the Monday email with all the links. I look forward to having everybody with us virtually in these next couple of weeks, which have a lot of exciting stuff coming up in it. On this Shabbat Eve, as we join together as one congregation to celebrate creation and the joy of life and living, we turn our thoughts to those in our community for whom life has become precarious because of health and hospitalization. In particular now, we also think of all those who are suffering from COVID-19. I beg and plead of all of you to still stay safe, take every protective measure you can, There are now more people in our congregation who have the virus right now, currently, or in the last 2 or 3 weeks than in the height of the lockdowns in March or in April. So please do what you can to stay safe and protected. O God of healing, in our hearts we name those who are facing illness and pain. We join our prayers together with the prayers of those who love them. Give them renewed comfort and courage. Strengthen in them the healing powers you place within us all. Guide the hands and hearts who are entrusted with their care, and please keep them safe as well. May the knowledge of your love and ours give added hope to them and their families. May they find even greater strength because our prayers are linked to theirs. Mishaberach avotenu v'imotenu hu yevarech et hacholim rifwat hanefesh u'rifwat haguf hashta'a b'ga'ala v'zman kariv v'nomar. Amen. May the one who blessed our ancestors bless those in need of healing. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit, as together we say, Amen.
Mishaberach avotenu Avraham, Yitzchak veYaakov. Mishaberach imotenu Sarah, Rivka, Leah veRachel. May the one who blessed our mothers, may the one who blessed our fathers, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Bless us with the power of your healing. Bless us with the power of your hope. May our hearts be filled with understanding and strengthened by the power of your love. Bless us with your vision for tomorrow. Help us to reach out to those in pain. May the warmth of friendship ease our sorrow. Give us courage, give us faith, show us the way. Mishaberach avotenu Mishaberach imotenu. Hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well. Hear our prayer, hear our prayer,
Hear our prayer.
hear our prayer, hear our prayer, and bless us as well.
We continue now with a prayer for our country that you can find on the screen in front of you. Every inch of America is sacred, from sea to shining sea. There is much to be done in our time, the sort of hard work on which God smiles because it is done for the sake of dignity and the well-being of all God's creatures. Together, let us work to preserve and make manifest the values upon which our democracy was founded. The task of all people of faith is to call governing authorities to fulfill God's purpose of bringing about justice, mercy, and peace. Individually and as a nation, may we heed our obligations to each other as we navigate the tensions of building a just society. Rather than a politics of divisiveness, may we move our country toward a politics of empathy. May we use our power well so we do great things for all God's creatures, all those made in God's image who yearn for an equal place at America's table. If we do this, may grace and peace be in our abundance. May we be a beacon and a blessing to the world as we say, Amen. Amen. We continue on page 282 as we rise in either body or spirit for Aleinu. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הרצות, ולא שמענו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. Let the time not be distant, O God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when superstition shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. O may all created in your image become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your realm be established on earth, and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever.
ונאמר כי פדה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד ושמו אחד ושמו אחד.
It is hard to sing of oneness when the world is not complete, when those who once brought wholeness to our life have gone, and not but memory can fill the emptiness their passing leaves behind. But memory can tell us only what we were in company with those we loved. It cannot help us find what each of us alone must now become. Yet no one is really alone. Those who live no more echo still within our thoughts and words, and what they did is part of what we have become. We do best homage to our dead when we live our lives more fully, even in the shadow of our loss. For each of our lives is worth the life of the whole world, and each one is the breath of the ultimate one. In affirming the one, we affirm the worth of each one whose life now ended brought us closer to the source of life, in whose unity no one is alone, and every life finds purpose. With hearts that ache and are saddened, we name now those whom death has recently taken from us, those whose families are observing the Shloshim. Betty Faye Fink, wife of Edwin Fink of blessed memory, mother of Saul Fink and Jonathan Fink, mother-in-law of Tracy and Sue. Bart Bernstein, brother of Rona Sahlberg and uncle of Sarah Levine. Ted Reinhard, brother of Simi Kruth, brother-in-law of Daniel. George Terbush Sr., father of Todd, Sandra, and George, father-in-law of Cindy, John. Ken Kim, husband of Ellen Greenberg, father of Xander and Isabel. Jack Siegel, husband of Irma Siegel, father of Randy, Irwin, and Susan, father-in-law of Alyssa, Eileen, and Michael. Elias Frumovich, father of Barbara, Bernie, and Irene, father-in-law of Larry and Rita and Greg. And we also think of tonight, and I'm sad to inform everybody, of the passing of Betsy Fruitman, mother of Marla Struminger. A funeral will be this Sunday, and we'll have details in an email to the congregation as soon as we have them. On this Shabbat, we also recall those dear ones who died at this season in years past, and whose names we record with love in our service this evening. Their names are forever bound to our hearts and are permanently inscribed throughout our building. And if you're joining us online tonight to say Kaddish for a loved one, I invite you to say their names as I look out into the camera. And while we might not be able to hear those names, the one who needs to hear them will hear them all. Zikronam livracha, may all their names and memories only be for a blessing. I invite all the mourners, if able, to rise for Kaddish Tom, Mourner's Kaddish on page 294. Yitkadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalmad yivrach yerutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dekol Beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kariv v'yimru. Amen. Yehesh me Rabba mevarach leolam olamei amaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudashah brichu, leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechamata, damiran be'alma v'yimru. Amen. Yehi shlama Rabba min Shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru. Amen. May the source of peace bestow peace to all who mourn, and may we be a source of comfort to all who are bereaved, as we say, Amen.
We are going to close our service tonight. It's a little change on page 377 with the singing of all four verses of America the Beautiful. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for pearly majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for pilgrim feet whose stern impassioned stress a thoroughfare for freedom beat across the wilderness. America, America, God mend thine every flaw. Confirm thy soul in self-control, thy liberty in law. Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. America, America, may God thy gold refine, till all success be nobleness, and every gain divine. Oh, beautiful for patriotry that sees beyond the years, thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Amen.
Shabbat Shalom.
We join together for Kiddush wherever you are in the world right now. Please take some juice or some wine and join with us.
Vayehi erev, vayehi voker, yom hashishi. Vayichulu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol tzevam. V'echal Elohim bayom hashvi, melachto asher asar. Vayishbot bayom hashvi, mikol melachto asher asar. Ve'avarech Elohim et yom hashvi, vayikadesh oto ki vo shavat mikol melachto. Asher bara Elohim lasot. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu. V'shabbat kodsho באהבה וברצון הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה וראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. אמן. לחיים.
And we join together for Motzi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen.
B'teavon and Shabbat Shalom, and we'll see you at the virtual Oneg.
Shabbat Shalom.